You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a half-full coffee mug, steam curling up into my face. It was a Saturday morning, gray outside, not cold, not warm, just flat. I hadn't even taken a sip when Kelly said it. I'm better off on my own. That's all. No build-up, no fight. Just those words, straight as a knife. My brain didn't catch up right away. It was like I heard it, but it didn't register. I stared down at the dark swirl in my cup, like maybe the bottom would explain it. She didn't look at me, just sat on the bar stool, legs crossed, phone in hand. Her thumb scrolled like she hadn't just detonated something between us. No apology, no eye contact, nothing. My mouth opened, nothing came out, not even a breath. We'd been married for 9 years. 9 years, and that's how she chose to say it. Quick note, before we get into it, share which city or country you're watching from. I couldn't move. I just stood there, fingers clenched around the mug. My knuckles were white, and my coffee went cold. I must have stood there for 10, maybe 15 minutes, not saying a word. She didn't say anything else either, just kept scrolling. I thought maybe she was mad, maybe it was a jab. But the tone, that calm, almost bored delivery, told me she wasn't trying to start an argument. She was done. She meant it. Thing is, I'd seen it coming. Not like this, but yeah, I'd felt it. The last few months had been weird. Kelly worked late more than usual. Said it was project deadlines or team dinners, whatever the excuse was that week. At first, I didn't question it. We were both tired, mid-30s, life gets busy. But then she stopped talking to me altogether, stopped asking about my day, stopped giving a damn about the small stuff that couples hold on to when everything else sucks. She pulled away in inches. First, she'd stay out late. Then she stopped laughing at my dumb jokes. Then the bedroom went cold. I'd catch her staring at her phone, smiling, then going blank the second she noticed me watching. I told myself it was just a phase. People go through things. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe I'd been too checked out myself. But deep down, I felt it, that quiet drift. The emptiness that builds when someone starts seeing you as furniture. That night, I lay on my side of the bed, staring up at the ceiling. She didn't say goodnight, didn't touch me, didn't even flinch when I turned off the light. I didn't feel heartbreak, not really. I felt hollow, like I'd already lost something I hadn't admitted was gone. I got out of bed without saying a word and walked straight to the garage. I stood in the garage for a while, staring at the shelves stacked with half-used tools and shit I hadn't touched in months. I didn't grab anything, didn't break anything. I just needed air, distance, space that wasn't soaked in her indifference. The next morning, I didn't say good morning, didn't ask if she wanted coffee. I made my own, took it black, and left the pot empty. She came downstairs 10 minutes later and opened the cabinet like she was expecting a miracle. I didn't even look up from my phone. That was the first thread I cut. By Tuesday, I stopped reminding her to take the trash out on pickup day. On Wednesday, I noticed her gas tank was nearly empty. Normally, I would have filled it up while running errands. Not anymore. She drove off Thursday morning without checking the gauge and texted me 2 hours later. "You forgot gas." I ignored it. The silence between us started as space. Then it became something heavier, like a quiet war. And the best part? She didn't notice at first. She thought I was just tired, distracted. She had no clue I was done playing the husband she didn't want. The week dragged. I washed only my clothes. I cooked for one. I vacuumed just my side of the living room. And when she asked, "Did you pay the power bill?" I said, "No idea," and walked past her. I wasn't sure if it was anger or self-preservation driving me, probably both. But for the first time in a long time, I felt in control, like I'd finally stepped out of the fog she left me in. She started dressing nicer, heels for team lunches, full makeup on a Monday night. Said she had one more late meeting, but came back smelling like hotel lobby perfume. I noticed everything. The way she angled her phone when she texted. The way she smiled at it, like it was flirting back. Her screen dimmed automatically whenever I walked past. I didn't accuse her, didn't question it. I just watched. Friday night, she came home after 11. Said she was catching up with coworkers and laughed like we were still friends. I just nodded. No follow-up, no pushback. She changed into her pajamas, checked her phone 3 times while brushing her teeth, and climbed into bed without even looking at me. I stared at the ceiling again, listening to her breathe like nothing was wrong. My mind wasn't racing, it was locked in, focused. I wasn't going to fight for her attention anymore. I'd wasted enough time handing her lifelines she never asked for. The next morning, she was in the kitchen making toast. She looked over her shoulder and asked, "You want any?" I shook my head. "I'm good." That was it. No smile, no fake morning kiss, just business. Later that day, I caught her on the couch, phone in hand, texting fast. Her expression was different, animated. Then she locked the screen the second I walked in. I sat in the chair across from her, didn't say a word, just watched. She avoided eye contact and got up to go fold laundry, but there was no basket in sight. I started to notice the pattern, how she never said who she was texting, never brought up the coworkers she used to talk about all the time. Her stories got vague, her answers shorter. One night, she came home wearing a tight black dress and red lipstick, said she had a dinner with her manager, Megan. I didn't even blink, just said, "All right," and went back to the game on TV. She hesitated in the doorway, like she wanted me to ask something. I didn't. She left without another word. I was done guessing, done fixing, done giving her the benefit of the doubt while she gave her energy to someone else. I didn't need a smoking gun. I had the silence, and I knew damn well she wasn't hearing it yet. But she would. The next week, it got worse. She started going out more, 2-3 nights in a row. Always had some vague excuse. Team dinner, Megan needed a girls' night. We're celebrating a promotion. Same rotation of names, same hollow smiles, same perfume cloud lingering behind her when she left. I didn't stop her. Didn't ask where, when, who. I just watched. The less I said, the more she filled the silence with noise I didn't believe. One Thursday night, she came down the stairs in a tight maroon dress I'd never seen before. Strappy heels. Lipstick like she was dressing for a date, not a coworker dinner. She grabbed her clutch, barely glanced at me. "I'll probably be late. Megan's dragging me all over town." I didn't look up. "Cool." She hesitated. I felt it. She waited like she wanted a reaction, a question, anything. I gave her nothing. She left with a stiff smile and a flick of her hair. I sat there staring at the TV, not even hearing the game. My mind was on the pattern. The silence between us wasn't accidental anymore. She was leaning into it. Every night she went out, I felt the weight of the house more. The empty plates, the untouched wine glasses, the unused side of the bed. The home we built was starting to feel like a hotel lobby I passed through, not somewhere I lived. Then came the phone. She wouldn't put it down. Texting constantly, fingers moving fast, screen tilted away. Always smiling like someone on the other end was giving her attention I used to get. Sometimes she'd lock it and flip it over like it burned her hands when I got too close. I never asked, not once. But I started watching harder. That Saturday, she said, "Megan and I are going to hit that new wine bar downtown." I didn't even pretend to care. "All right." She stood at the mirror, fixing her hair for the second time, changed her earrings, then her top. She was nervous, fidgety, like this one mattered more than the last dozen. When the door closed behind her, I waited 5 minutes. Then I picked up her phone from the counter. She hadn't taken it. She never used to leave it behind. I unlocked it without thinking. Her password hadn't changed. Messages popped up, texts from Megan, a few work notifications, but none of them were recent. I scrolled deeper. That's when I saw the name, Chris. No last name, just Chris. Generic, harmless looking. Until I opened it. There weren't nudes or anything explicit. But the tone was clear, flirty, familiar, comfortable in a way that made my stomach twist. "Chris, you better show up tonight. I don't want to drink alone again. Kelly, you'd survive, barely." "Chris, survive? I've been counting hours." "Kelly, you're ridiculous. Fine, 1 drink." I sat down hard in the kitchen chair. The blood in my face drained out and pooled somewhere deep in my gut. I kept scrolling. Jokes, inside references, comments about how she needed to get out of the house more. One from a few nights ago, "He doesn't even notice when I leave anymore." She wasn't wrong. I'd stopped trying. But reading it, that smug half-truth text, it hit different. There was no mention of me by name, no hard proof. But the vibe was there. That emotional cheating line, she'd crossed it, and she knew it. I locked the phone, put it back exactly where I found it. Sat there in the dark for another hour. When she came back, she was flushed, laughing to herself, lipstick smudged. She didn't say anything to me, just kicked off her shoes, grabbed a bottle of water, and disappeared into the bathroom. I didn't ask where she'd been. I didn't care about the lies anymore. I knew his name, and that was enough to start. I walked out to the garage again. This time, I didn't just stand there. I grabbed a box and started clearing out a shelf. I cleared off that shelf in the garage and didn't stop. Next was the cabinet near the washer, then the drawer in the hallway where she kept all her miscellaneous crap, chargers, receipts, those gift cards she swore she'd use. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I just wanted to see what else she was hiding in plain sight. It didn't take long. In the bottom of the bedroom closet, under a stack of old sweaters, I found a small box. Shoe-sized, taped once across the top. I don't know why it caught my eye. Maybe because it looked too neat. Too intentional. Inside were cards, not mine. Birthday cards, flirty little notes, handwritten scraps with inside jokes I didn't recognize. Some had no name, others were signed with a small C. One card read, "Next time we run into each other on purpose, drinks are on me." C. Another had her lipstick kiss print on the back flap. No dates, no context. But it didn't take a genius. I sat on the floor, box in my lap, and tried to figure out if I felt angry, but I didn't, not yet. It was like my brain was logging evidence in a quiet, methodical way. I took her old laptop from under the bed. She hadn't used it in a while, said work gave her a newer one. But I figured maybe she slipped up. She had. Messages synced to the desktop from her phone, text backups she probably forgot were even there. Most of it was nothing. But then I searched Chris. Dozens of messages, spread out across weeks. Chris, if I saw you in that red dress again, I'd forget how to act. Kelly, that's the idea. I like keeping you flustered. Chris, still thinking about last Friday? We have to be careful. Kelly, I know. He doesn't ask questions, though. It's like I don't exist to him anymore. That one hit, not because it wasn't true, but because of how easily she said it. Like she'd already rewritten the story in her head, made herself the neglected wife, like I'd pushed her into someone else's arms. I closed the laptop and sat there, hands folded, staring at the floor. I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel betrayed. I just felt outside, like I was watching it all happen from across the street. Chris sounded like a guy who worked out too much and knew just enough about wine to fake class. His messages were shallow, surface-level compliments and flirty little half-promises. But she ate it up. Responded like she was 17 again. Not a 35-year-old woman with a mortgage and a husband 2 rooms away. I wasn't jealous of him. I was embarrassed for me. I thought back to the last time Kelly and I sat down just to talk. Couldn't remember. Somewhere along the way, we stopped reaching for each other. I used to think I was holding steady, giving her space, letting her breathe. Now I saw it for what it was. I disappeared slowly, and she filled the gap with attention from someone who didn't know a damn thing about her. One night, she came back from a work trip to Phoenix. She didn't know I was awake. The door opened soft. Keys barely jingled. I watched her from the bed as she slipped her shoes off without making a sound. She crept across the room like she was breaking in. Her phone stayed in her hand the whole time. She didn't plug it in like she usually did. Just kept it face down on the nightstand. She climbed into bed facing the opposite wall. No hello, no how was your night, just silence. I stayed still, breathing slow, eyes open. She didn't even glance at me. Her shoulders were tight, back tense, like she knew what she was doing, like she was scared I'd ask, but I didn't. I wouldn't. I already had my answer. She was gone, checked out emotionally, invested somewhere else. And I wasn't about to beg for attention she'd already sold off to a guy who texted with smiley faces. I turned over, away from her, and grabbed my phone. Time to start my own plans. I didn't say a word that morning, made coffee, grabbed my keys, walked out the door without even glancing at her. But something was off. When I came home later, she was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter like she'd been rehearsing something. "You eat today?" she asked. Her voice was soft. That fake casual tone people use when they're trying not to sound like they're trying. I opened the fridge and grabbed a beer. Yeah. She waited for more. Got nothing. A few minutes passed. She started messing with a bowl of fruit that didn't need arranging. Then she cleared her throat. "So, I was thinking," she said, eyes locked on the countertop, "maybe we could take a weekend, just the two of us. Get away. Reset." She said us like it was some sacred word she hadn't used in forever. Like that alone would rewind everything. I didn't look at her, took a slow sip. "I've got work." "You can't move one thing," she pushed, still trying to keep it light. "No." That was it. She stood there for another beat, then walked past me to the living room. Didn't say a word. I watched her go, noting the slump in her shoulders. First time I'd seen her actually look unsure in months. That nervous energy she used to hide with fake smiles and quick exits, it was back. And I wasn't feeding her anything to help cover it. She tried again later that night, asked if I wanted to watch a movie, picked one she knew I liked. I told her I had emails to finish. I didn't. She stared at me for a second like she was searching for a crack in the wall, something to grab onto. There wasn't one. I let the silence stretch between us. Not angry, not cold, just still, controlled. She hated it. Kelly had always relied on reaction. Mine, hers, someone's. She'd spark something just to feel in charge of the flame. But now, I wasn't lighting anything. The next day she left early, came back early, lingered in the doorway like she wanted to talk. I didn't give her the opening. Sat at the table, half reading emails, waiting for her to say whatever she was building up to. She didn't. That night she brought up the weekend again, said, "We could really use the time, just to talk." I shrugged. "I'm not interested." She blinked. "Not even a maybe?" "No." She stood still, arms folded. For once she didn't argue. That was the shift. Right there. The first time she realized I wasn't playing anymore. I watched her walk down the hall, stiff, unsure of herself. Then I closed my laptop and went to the garage. I shut the garage door behind me and didn't go back inside right away. Just stood there for a while, listening to the silence on the other side of the wall. The thing about control is, when you finally stop handing it over, the shift isn't loud. It's quiet, surgical. Over the next few days, I let everything fall exactly where it would if I wasn't there to keep it together. Laundry? I did mine. Left hers in the basket. Dishes? I cleaned what I used. Gas? Her tank hit empty and stayed there. I watched her glance at the gauge, frown, then say nothing. Not to me. She started checking her phone more, always waiting for something. Maybe a text from me. Maybe one from Chris. Either way, I wasn't giving her what she needed. The rhythm we'd built over the years, me anticipating her needs, stepping in before she ever had to ask, was gone. Now she had to face the gap, and it showed. She hovered more, asked questions she didn't care about before. "You need anything from the store? You want me to grab takeout tonight? You been sleeping okay?" I answered with shrugs. A nod, maybe. Never more than a word. She'd glance at me, then at her phone, then at me again. Like she was searching for signs, trying to find a weak spot. There wasn't one. One night, she opened the fridge, paused, then turned to me. "I noticed you didn't get groceries." I didn't. She stared at me, waiting. I walked past her and poured a glass of water. That was the new balance. No yelling, no slamming doors, just quiet refusal. The nervous energy started creeping in. She fidgeted more, checked her reflection before I could see her do it. Wore outfits she used to wear early in our relationship. Stuff I'd once complimented, back when compliments mattered. I didn't say a thing. On Thursday, she made dinner. The kind of things she used to throw together when we had friends over. Salmon, roasted potatoes, the whole show. She set the table, lit a candle, poured 2 glasses of wine. I came home late, sat down at the counter, scrolling through work emails. She walked over, holding a plate. "I made your favorite." I glanced at the plate, then the table. "I already ate." She blinked fast. "Oh, I thought..." "Never mind." I kept scrolling. She sat down, picked at her food. Didn't eat much. The wine sat untouched. Later that night, she tried again. She walked into the bedroom while I was folding laundry, stood there with her arms crossed, like she was warming up for something bigger. I know things have been off, but I meant it when I said I wanted us to reset. I nodded once, didn't stop folding. "So maybe we just go. No pressure, just a weekend. Clear the air." "No." "Alex," I said no. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't push. Not this time. She stood there for a second longer, then walked out. I finished folding my clothes, took them into the closet, and started packing a bag. Sunday morning, the light was just starting to creep in through the blinds when I heard her stir beside me. No fake stretches, no soft groans, just this stiff intake of breath, like someone bracing for impact. I stayed still, facing the wall. A minute passed, then she sat up slowly, like she'd finally run out of things to pretend. "Alex," she said. I didn't answer. She waited again. Then, "Do you think we're okay?" I rolled over, sat up, looked her dead in the eye. "I think we're exactly where you said we should be." Her mouth opened, then closed. That hit landed different. She hadn't expected that one. She looked down at the blanket between us, rubbed the edge of it between her fingers like she needed something to hold on to. "I didn't mean it like that," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "You did." No yelling, no pacing, just facts. Her face dropped, slow, like she was realizing she was the only one just now waking up. I got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. That was the moment she finally saw it. The wall wasn't just up, it had hardened, and she wasn't getting through. By noon, she was still in bed, scrolling her phone like she was searching for a reset button. I was downstairs, already moving forward. I picked up my phone and called Mia. She answered on the third ring. "Hey," I said. "You got a minute?" "What's going on?" she asked, voice clipped. "I need a favor." Silence. "Kelly's been seeing someone," I said. "Or close to it. Guy named Chris. It's all in texts, notes, messages. I can send it to you." I heard her exhale through her nose. "Why are you telling me?" "Because you know her. You've seen her switch faces. I need someone close to her to plant the idea that I know." Mia didn't respond right away. Then, "You want me to play mind games with your wife?" "I want her to feel the ground start shifting, without me saying a word." Mia let out a short, humorless laugh. "You always gave her too much rope." "Yeah," I said. "But I'm not holding it anymore." Another pause. "Send me the screenshots. I'll handle it." "You sure?" "I've been waiting for this, Alex. Just didn't think you'd ever stop covering for her." I texted her everything. Photos of the messages, the cards, the quote about how I didn't notice when she left. All of it. 10 minutes later, Mia responded. "Mia, got it. She won't know it came from you." I didn't reply. I just sat back in my chair and looked around the kitchen. Kelly came downstairs 20 minutes later. She didn't look at me at first, poured herself coffee like it was a normal Sunday, but her hands were twitchy. She kept glancing at me, waiting for some kind of opening. I gave her none. She walked into the living room and turned on the TV. Some cooking show. Volume low. No interest in it. She was listening for me. I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and pulled out the small duffel I'd started packing. By Wednesday, I saw it start to hit her. She came home earlier than usual, said it was a short girls' night, like she wanted credit for the effort. She walked in with a weird energy, overly upbeat, fake casual, the kind of tone people use when they're trying to cover up something under their skin. She set her purse down, kicked off her heels, and peeked into the fridge. "I was thinking of making dinner," she said. "You hungry?" I looked up from my laptop. "Not really." She paused, forced a smile. "You sure?" "I could do pasta. Or those steaks you like." "I'm good." She held the fridge door open a little longer than necessary, then let it shut. The kitchen went quiet again. She hadn't cooked for me in months, not since before the red dress, before Chris. Whatever Mia said to her clearly stuck. Now she was scrambling, looking for a handle in a room with no doors. I went back to my laptop. She lingered in the doorway, waiting. When I didn't say anything else, she gave up and headed upstairs. An hour later, I passed by the bedroom and saw her curled up in bed, phone in hand, screen angled toward her chest, texting fast, pausing, staring, typing again. I didn't need to see the screen. Chris. But she was being careful now. Real careful. Holding the phone like it was made of glass. No smiles this time. Just tension in her jaw and that look in her eyes. The one people get when they're losing control and they know it. She looked up, saw me in the hallway, and locked the screen immediately. "Hey," she said, like she was trying to act natural. "Hey." That was it. She hesitated like she wanted to say more, then didn't. I went to the guest room and shut the door. By Friday, she'd started asking small questions again. Did I want to grab coffee this weekend? Did I want to maybe check out that new Mexican place? Was I free Sunday? I gave her nothing solid, just soft shrugs and short answers. The cracks were opening wider, and I didn't have to say a word. Saturday morning, while she was in the shower, I called the bank, asked them to separate the accounts. She'd kept her name on mine all these years, even though she had her own. I didn't see the point of waiting anymore. The rep on the phone asked me a couple questions. I gave them everything. The transfer would take 48 hours. Once that call ended, I logged into every account we shared, utilities, internet, insurance, and started changing the contact info, updating passwords, switching cards, taking her name off everything, one line item at a time. She had no idea. She was upstairs, drying her hair, probably wondering if I'd say yes to a lunch date. Meanwhile, I was making it so she wouldn't be able to fill up her car on my card if she tried. She came downstairs later, phone in hand, all cleaned up and casual. Thinking of heading to Target, she said, "You need anything?" "No." She glanced at me, waiting. I didn't return the look, just kept checking emails. She shifted her weight. "I'll be back soon." I nodded. Door shut behind her. I opened my file cabinet, pulled out the folder labeled Property, and started flipping through the mortgage statements. I left the letter on the kitchen counter. One page, no drawn-out story, no guilt trip closure, just the truth in plain English. I told her I was done, that the marriage she walked out of emotionally was now over legally, financially, and practically. I listed the accounts, split, cleared, renamed, told her I'd already signed a short-term lease, no shared bills, no "let's talk," no reset. The house was quiet when I walked out. No goodbye, no suitcase dragging across the floor, just the front door closing behind me. I dropped the keys in the mailbox and drove away. The place I rented was nothing special. One bedroom off a side road near I-20. Beige walls, thin carpet. But it felt clean, like a space that didn't carry her scent or her silence. My phone buzzed mid-morning. Her name? I let it ring. She texted, "Kelly, where are you?" Then, "Kelly, what is this? Come home." Kelly, "You can't just leave." I didn't answer. She called again, then again. I sat on the floor in my empty living room, back against a moving box, phone face down. Her panic was loud now, real. She'd played silent for so long, and now that it was turned on her, she didn't know what to do with it. By late afternoon, I saw the final one come through. "Kelly, please, just talk to me." Still, I didn't respond. She'd said everything she needed to the moment she said she was better off on her own. I just finally believed her. I didn't need her to explain it, didn't need her to cry or apologize or spin a new story. I needed space, and I'd taken it. She gave me silence. I gave it back. Only mine was permanent.